Okay, Giuseppe, let's go. Let's hear your story.
All right. So I know I'm sure, of course, Jack and Chris have probably heard part of this. So you feel free to reply to your emails or something in the meantime. But so I met Dave through a family friend named Steve Scanlon that was a building champions coach. That was his coach at that time, and hired me in November of 2002. Didn't really know what to do with me because I was like a biology major that just moved to Denver and worked in a restaurant. So I had like no connections or anything here. So he's like, here, go to Chicago, where the company that we were with was kind of headquartered. And that way I was there for a month and just got to sit with loan officers, pricing people, underwriters, processors, and enter like, I don't know, 50 1003s and their LOS system, which was more of a POS system called Integra, and took forever. But it made me a master at entering the application and knowing where all the fields were. But while I was there, they had this big sales board. And this was 2002, like late 90s. Rates were like in the 8s and 9% range. And rates now at that point were like down in maybe the high 6s. And everybody was refinancing. In fact, my first job, Dave, was to be a loan assistant for Andy Shire.
That's right.
And that's what I tell people, like he taught me everything. He's a loan officer and he's a nice guy, but he was not a good loan officer, and kind of sleazy, what you might think, used car salesman type, would charge extra discount points at the last second and then just have us explain it to the client. Like, hey, just tell him that's what Andy needed to do to get the loan done. So yeah, I learned very quickly what not to do, which was good. But while I was back to Chicago, I was there and we were walking through this, everybody was doing refinances at the time that had been in the business for a while. And there was this loan officer at the top of the board named Ed Connerty, who is still in business. I don't think he's doing this kind of business anymore, but he was, he had closed like $11 million that month. And, their average loan was probably $200,000 or something. So I wasn't sure what that meant because like literally I was in Denver for like 3 days before I went to Chicago. And but someone told me, they're like, man, that guy made like $100,000 last month. And that, I was like, wait, what? Like that just blew me away. First time I realized the potential you could have in this industry. And, just realizing like you can do that without like being a surgeon or like a professional athlete or a movie actor or something. Like that's crazy to me. So I had a couple meals with him. I got to sit on a couple face-to-face client meetings with him. And just kind of sit in the background and listen. And during those, he just kind of explained, it's very simple. It's not easy, as we've heard many times. He just said, do a great job for the client when you're doing the transaction, stay in touch with them and ask for referrals. And then to put things in perspective, he was in his like 15th or 16th year of doing loans at that time. And he said, the clients just, if you do that, the clients just keep coming back over and over. And every once in a while, every 5 years, 10 years, whatever, you have this huge refi boom and you have, the kind of year like we had last year. At that point, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because when I first got hired, my dad got laid off from his company. He was a chemist because he was older, senior, and they had to pay him too much. So they hired a couple college graduates to replace him. And so one of the first things I asked Dave, I was like, so wait, there's no salary, but like there's no cap either, right? Like you're not gonna like fire me for making too much, for earning too much. And of course, that's not how it works in this industry, because you either do nothing and you make nothing, or whatever, you earn what you close. So so that was very inspiring to me. That was like a big why. And I was like, okay, it'd be fun to make $100,000 in a month. And I knew that, right, the guy didn't do it 6 months after starting in the business, right? It was 15 years later. So I knew that I saw the potential. I wasn't concerned that my salary was $2,000 a month when I started, even though I had to move back home with my parents because I couldn't afford rent and my student loans and my Hyundai payment based on that. But I feel like Dave mentioned, a really slow trajectory to higher income. I didn't cross over $100,000 till my 4th year in this industry. I wasn't originating for the first 18 months, but by the end of, I started in 2002, went full commission in March of 2004. I got married in June 2004. I remember in May of that year, I closed 3 loans, earned like $7,000, paid off my student loans, the rest of my car loan, and I was like, man, I am rolling in it now. So that was June. And then I got married, and then in July, I had like a $40,000 home equity line. That was the only loan I had closing. So I was going to earn $300 on it, and then they canceled. So that was I went from like a great month to a 0 month right away. And so, I experienced that early on. So, I mean, I think with the systems we have, at Zenith, we're seeing LOs, right? They're getting into business their 1st year, 2nd year, making that kind of money or more. And even LOAs have that kind of earning potential. So it's pretty awesome industry. And, what I did at the very beginning was, I told Dave, kind of a blur. It was a long time ago. It was a lot of stressful situations ago. But, I tried going to open houses. I know that worked well for Chris. I had like this real dickhead of a realtor who just made me feel like shit at one of the first open houses I ever did. And so that really turned me off from that experience. I wish it hadn't, but it did. And so I didn't do that. I didn't do open houses after that. I think, we didn't really have any of the guarantees, fast closing, certified, nothing, so it was really just cold calling realtors. I did that solid for 3 months in the spring, probably of 2004. And it was just getting to know them, right? Coffee meetings, getting to know them personally. And, you have days that you just feel like you get kicked in the teeth over and over. And just kind of, the more you do that, the more you get used to that. And I remember one of the first realtor meetings I had was a guy named Andy Willems. I looked him up this morning when I was typing up some notes here. And he closed 2 loans last year, or 2 deals last year, according to that software. So, but I never heard from him again, but we closed a buyer, first-time buyer. And then as soon as he closed, I asked for a referral, and he referred some friends, and then they closed. And I think on that first or second deal, I had Pam Kiker, who's a realtor I work with. She's she's not really in business anymore, but she's one of the owners of the Keller Williams DTC office. And never met her, never spoke to her because everything was through her TC. But, I just had good communication and earned the right to get a meeting with her after a few months of trying.
It took a long time, if I remember.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't take that long for the meeting, but it took a long time for the referral because they had a good team and they were really loyal. And, they had a good lender, and that lender ended up retiring like 2 years later. And so they called me, and then we started getting some more consistent business, maybe 10, 20 transactions a year, something like that through the years. Any questions?
Well, talk about, because the Pam Kiker deal is an interesting story because she was the listing agent on a transaction.
Yep.
Who was the transaction coordinator? Because that
Chris
was
Stromgren.
Yeah. So Chris was really impressed with what you did. I remember because you communicated really well.
Yeah, and like what we did then, like our contract in notification that goes out and the appraisal is received and clear to close, those were 3 faxes. Like, that's it. That was all the communication. I'm sure there were some phone calls, but like that was the communication. So I remember walking over to the fax machine, like clear to close. I'm like, ooh, this is a very important task for a loan officer. Type it in the number, and and they got it. So, but yeah, that just took, I had to just stay in front of, someone like that for, I'm not like super aggressive. So probably like 2 years. And then that lender ended up retiring. And then I started getting, I think, the majority of their business.
Well, and you were getting business from everybody on their team. And then I remember, wasn't Rhett, when that guy's Rhett?
Yeah, Rhett, like Jenna, Corey, all those people have since moved on and either are working on their own or whatever. But yeah, it was a kind of powerhouse team back then for sure.
Corey's still referring you, right?
Yeah.
Not consistently, but like you still get you get decent business from Corey, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like motivational stuff, I always had like some Brian Tracy or Todd Duncan tapes in my car. And then we lived in Highlands Ranch. Our office was in Inglewood. So I drive through Cherry Hills on University each day and kind of visualize that. And I'd be like screaming these little affirmations. Brian knows because I told him, like Brian Tracy's like, you're a great loan officer. So I'm like driving down the street. I'm a great loan officer. I'm a great loan officer. My clients love me. And as funny and ridiculous as that is, I distinctly remember the days that I would do that. Like at the end of the day, I'm like, man, that was like a way more productive day. That was like a really good day. So like weird memories, right, from so long ago. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's just about persistence and doing a good job when you have the opportunity. Those cold calling days suck. No way around that. I mean, you get pretty good at it when you do it every day. But I would suck at it now. I know that for sure. And I think I was just lucky that like during certain critical times when I felt like, man, I don't know if this is for me, this is like too hard, then, someone would do something kind, or Dave would do something inspirational, or you get a little break, right? Like a realtor, or you get that referral, right? And then you're like, okay, great, got to build on that. And it's just like a slow wheel that keeps going.
A couple of the things that stood out. First of all, your persistence over the years, because I know it didn't start fast for you, but what you and I talked about this the night that we went out and celebrated. So we had a goal, and I've shared this with a lot of you, that the first time he made 6-figure month, he had to take me out to dinner and we'd celebrate. And I remember at that dinner, we talked about how you were struck by how there's so much potential in this business. And so why do people give up so easily with the potential that's always really there? I've never figured that out either. Like the people that we've had working here now, I've become a lot more discerning in our selection process. So those of you that are here in this program are here because you would have not liked the other people that I would bring in. That would be like, if somebody wanted to get in the business, I would just hire them. And now I'm like, let's see if you deserve, if you want to be in this business. The other thing is that and we talked about it in the video that we shot about how you do loans and how you're not willing to compromise the process in order to get a quick pre-approval in there. That's been, to me, the thing that stood out more than one is that your focus on doing an awesome job and not be willing to have a bad transaction just to get the deal, right? Because that was always, you saw that blow up in people's faces here. Like we had people do that, and it happened to me over and over again. But and I think a little bit is it your personality, which is just like, yeah, I just don't want to look stupid here. Like I'm on.
Well, so I'm not an outgoing type A, whatever sales personality, right? That disc test, remember when I first took the first one, you're like, I don't think you're going to make it in sales. You may not have said that, but you thought that.
That's what I thought. I
And
did
you
think
told me
that.
10 years later, but that's okay.
Well, because you
And
started,
I'm like, it takes me so long to get a new relationship. I just didn't want to screw it up because I really hate the cold calling part of it. So
well, that's a great philosophy, but the persistence that you took to it. And I remember when you first started, because you weren't, when you first went like, okay, I've got, and back then we didn't need a license. So you could just decide you're going to be a loan officer. Tomorrow you're a loan officer, right? It wasn't like it is today. I think that I want to say your first deal was like your mom referred you to somebody at school or something. She was working at a school.
oh yeah, Sue Forster. But yeah, I wasn't like doing loans then. That was like my first trial at it.
Well, and to think about the fact that you moved here, how long had you been here before you and I met? You were only here a few months, right?
I got here like 3 days after 9/11. But I mean, I waited tables for like a year because there was nothing, no one was really hiring at that time
Oh,
for
okay.
anything.
You were here for a year, but you didn't have a sphere of influence. You didn't go to grade school or high school here. You had a very small, like, so,
My waiting list was my database.
right? And these were all people, we weren't doing loans in all 50 states then. I mean, we were doing loans in Colorado, and we could do a loan here and there, like you could do a loan in Illinois back then. But the your start was pretty not like, and I'm not even sure today if I'd hire you into the program that we're doing right now. Like,
I probably wouldn't pass your sales quiz.
yeah, that's what's so funny. But what it talks about, and the reason that your career is so interesting is that you just stayed with it. That's the key, and that's where when we talk about turning that flywheel, when you first start, that's the thing, is that you have to put the constant pressure on it. You can't let up. And you didn't, obviously, because obviously things worked out and you stayed in front of all the people. I remember that you used to, you built your own, I remember you doing mailings at home, and you're telling me that your mom and your dad and Maureen and you would sit around the dining room table and you would fold marketing pieces to mail out.
Oh yeah, email was like brand new, really. So I remember one month, like early on, I took some majestic letterhead and I printed out that poem, The Dash. If anyone's ever read it, it's a really good poem. You can Google it. And I mailed that out. So yeah, we folded up like, I don't know, 80 of them, stuffed the envelopes and put them in the mail. And then like 10 years later, I go to my dentist. She's like, I still have this poem. It was like inside a cabinet door, the hygienist opened it up. So yeah,
That's
I don't
funny.
know what else to say.
Yeah. So there isn't anything, I guess that's the point of this, is that there isn't anything amazing, earth shattering, other than, I guess the takeaway needs to be is like, persistence and consistency. You got to show up every day. One of the things that I say about you is that you work really hard. You work really hard at this business, and you've worked really hard at being really good at it. You probably more than anybody here, you stay on top of changes as much as anybody that I'm aware of. The information that comes out on the sales calls, the changes that happen in the industry, you study that stuff. Like, so that it's not sexy. None of what we're talking about here is sexy or fun. It's all just, you do the work. The mortgage coach videos, Giuseppe laughs about this. Dave Savage wants to interview him on Mortgage Coach, and Giuseppe's response is like, nah, I don't want to do that interview. Because what I would tell everybody is, I just watched all the Mortgage Coach videos and did that. And so
I just copied everything you guys are saying.
Yeah.
And
that's the commitment to learning.
Yeah, I mean, it takes, like last night, like Mondays, I do my annual reviews for the week. And it was like 6:30 or 7, and I was finishing up with work. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to do all these. So like, you could not do them, or you could do them. And I chose to do them. So I was tired and I wanted to stop, but I, that's kind of my routine to do that. So I just did it.
Not sexy.
No, I
It's
mean,
just hard work. And it's like I say, how good should you be at this job to make the kind of income that you're capable of earning? And the answer is you should be really freaking good. That's the answer. And so that's it. I mean, I don't have anything earth shattering or amazing to share. And obviously this isn't earth shattering or amazing, but what you should take from it is the simplicity is amazing. And the hard work, that's amazing, because that's good news. Anybody can do that, right? Anybody can work really hard. Anybody can master the tools, because I know that that's one of the things. You listen to those mortgage coach videos driving to work many days. You always were listening to positive material. You became, not that you weren't a reader before, but I know that you're a voracious reader now. You're always reading something. That's it. It's that consistency and that persistence, right? I mean, what else is there?
Now with top of mind and all that, right? It's not, or bomb or whatever, or send a text, all these things that we didn't have, like just figure out a way to stay in front of your whole database once a month, right?
Yeah.
Call them for their birthday, and then figure out whatever works for you to stay in front of the realtors that you want to stay in front of once a month, right? Salesforce, like John said, it's great when you use it. Anything works though, like a filing cabinet works. You're like, okay, and the 15th of next month, I'm making these calls. And then you look at that folder on the 15th. All right, you just need to figure out whatever system works for you.
This is great. This is great because it's so simple. It's just what he's talking about is hard work. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask him before we let this go?
I just think it's kind of cool how like G met one realtor, and that's like similar to me with Judy, and I work with her son and her daughter. So all the new people, I mean, you just got to keep working, and then you just got to get that one relationship, and it can literally change your career. It sounds like that got G really going and built his confidence, and same with me. And it's funny because my realtor's lender just quit too, which is Nicole Ruth. She came back, but she had just quit. So I just feel like you got to be in the right place at the right time. It's pretty cool.
Yep. And the way you do that is you stay in front of them once a month.
Yep.
Right.
Hey, Giuseppe, I have a question. What do you do to stay in front of people? What are your go-tos for realtors specifically?
Realtors, so like what I'm doing right now is like basically I just have a reminder for like my targeted realtors, people that I'm trying to stay, earn business from, where I'm doing a video or a text, a video, and then emailing it out to BombBomb, or a text or a phone call or an email, like generally every 3 weeks.
Are you gifting at all? Like your platinum, your partner?
We send them something for their birthdays. That's about it. Yeah, we'll send them, like, I guess we're doing crumble cookies now. But we've done, C's chocolates or other, like, there's like this chocolatier in Littleton that, support a small business like that. They'll deliver them. So everyone likes that.
Weekly rate. All your agents get the weekly rate update.
Yeah, they get the rate update. I don't know if anyone ever looks at it, but usually I'm just trying to, when I do my check-in calls, I'm just trying to solve some problem that they may have, right? So like this year, it's all, how did we get our offers accepted? So, and you got to like hit on these facts over and over and over and over. Like I have this list, our team knows this, but I have this list of clients that either they're not calling me back or they should have refinanced. We pulled it in June whenever rates dropped. In May, there was like 140 people. I think like 75 people have now refinanced off that list, just from me reaching out to them and showing them some options. And other people just didn't qualify. And there's still like 50 people that, like, all these people have gotten like multiple emails, text, voicemails, right? And every once in a while, one of them will just call me out of the blue off that list. And they're like, hey, I think I should refinance. Is this a good time? I'm like, dude, I've been reaching out like 15 times. Like, yes, it's a good time. Not as good as last month, though. So I think same thing with realtors. Like people just get a lot of, noise, right? Data, emails, text. So just because you tell someone that you can close in 10 days and, you know, all the benefits of our certified pre-approval and the $1,000 per day, all those things, you might have to say that 10 times before it sinks in.
What I think we discount so much when it comes to marketing, because we're talking about marketing, what we discount so much is I don't understand why I haven't gotten a response. It's like, okay, well, you know how much you get marketed to and think all the things you don't respond to? Think about all the things you don't respond to as you're marketed to all freaking day. Your phone, your email, your personal email, your work email. Just think about all the marketing that you get that you don't respond to, right? And the people that are on the other end is like, I don't understand why they don't call back. It's like, well, because I get a million messages. And so the consistency is key. And there's obviously more that you can do. That's a big subject that we can get into. So does anybody have anything else? So I'm in, thanks, Giuseppe, this is great. And I know that you probably are like going, oh, I don't think I did anything. It's like, I know that you always say that. It's the simplicity and the persistence that makes it like, that's why it's such a great story. It's like, look, this is all this is. It's hard. It's freaking hard work. Go to work and stay consistent and stay in front of people and be persistent. That's it.
Yeah, and even realtors that don't turn out to be good realtors, like Irene Glazer, right?
Yeah.
There's some realtors here and there that you'll meet and maybe you get a transaction. Like I never heard from that Andy Willems guy again. Like, isn't that weird? Like we did a good job on this purchase and never heard from him again. But then there's other realtors like this gal, Irene, who's, if anyone's working with her, she's a good person, but she did a few things that were a little shady, but she referred these clients that worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and that led to probably 15 different loans I did for people like in their like class. They were all like new hires there, second years there, all making $70,000 a year, and they all went out and bought houses. And some of those people then referred other people, and then some of those people I've done 8 loans for through the years. So like I never heard or spoke to that realtor ever again, but they referred these clients, and then that grew into that. It's crazy when you think about it. So
It is crazy.
Don't discount, you know, that potential.
So in that regard, I'm in a coaching program with Tim Brahim. For those of you that know, Tim Brahim was a long time, you know, rising star in the mortgage industry. He built a product called Loan Toolbox that we used for years, and then he retired. He started up a coaching company. I'm in a coaching program. And one of the things that I have now is access to a referral partner business development training program that he put together. And I just got confirmation a couple of days ago that I can share it with everybody. And it's as good of information as I think I've ever seen on the subject of building relationships with referral partners and getting relationships with referral partners and how you go about it. And it's everything. You're not going to hear anything that I haven't taught. You're not going to hear anything. You're just going to hear it a little bit differently and a little bit more concisely. And so I'm going to send out, I got to get the link and then the username and password out to everybody so that you can have access to this stuff. This isn't going to be something, depends on your approach. So what Giuseppe's talking about here is it takes hard work and it takes consistency. So this isn't going to be something that you're going to want to watch once. There's like, I think there's a total of about 13 or 14 different videos, and they're all anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes long. And it's just him talking about how you go out and develop relationships, the right kind of relationships with the right kind of people, and the approach to it, which is really kind of what we've shared before with Aaron Payne videos, which is you're actually looking for agents that you want to have a relationship with, somebody that you can be really valuable to, and somebody that you want to be with. And he really goes in depth on the value, probably more than, and then something that we don't talk about nearly as much is he goes into real depth on how to develop a relationships with a certified financial planner, with an insurance salesperson, with a CPA. These are all things that we don't talk about here nearly as much. And the value of building that out, because the the reason that we have new loan officers build a list of people that you can talk to is that you have an unlimited market right at your fingertips. And anyway, so I'm looking forward to sharing all that stuff and just helping people build these relationships a little bit deeper. It'll become a big part of the sales training academy information that we have for everybody. So I'm looking forward to getting that out there. Giuseppe, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. I only gave you like no notice. I sent the email to him last night about 5 o'clock. I plan on sending it all day. So I thank you for saying yes. And I appreciate your time. Everyone, thanks a lot. Let's have an awesome day.
You guys.
Thank you.